Laughter echoed through the cozy rooftop lounge as fairy lights blinked against the Baltimore night sky. Maya stood in the center of it all, still in shock, her hand trembling slightly as the diamond ring sparkled on her. Her friends screamed in excitement. Her mother wiped a tear from her eye. Champagne glasses clinked. Someone shouted. She said yes. Darren smiled beside her, his arm wrapped around her waist. Everything looked perfect. On the outside, Maya forced a smile, trying to catch up to the moment. She had just finished a long hospital shift when Darren insisted they stop by his cousin's birthday dinner. Instead, she walked into a surprise proposal with roses, soft jazz, and 100 eyes staring at her. It should have been one of the happiest nights of her life. And yet something felt off. Darren had always been composed, but tonight he was too calm, almost distracted. His kiss after the proposal was light, like a formality. He kept checking his phone when he thought no one was looking. Later, while the party swirled around them, Maya stepped into the coat room to catch her breath. She wasn't looking for anything, but when she reached into Darren's coat to grab his car keys, a folded receipt slipped out of the inside pocket. She picked it up, curious. Westfield Jewelers. Date, last Tuesday. Item, 1.5 CT solitaire engagement ring, custom engraving. Sold to Miss Brielle Simmons. Pick up by Darren Cole. Maya stared at the paper. Her chest tightened. Same date Darren told her he was working late. Same exact ring he had just slipped on her finger. But the name, Brielle? The receipt crackled in her hand as she folded it again and slipped it into her purse. She heard footsteps and quickly composed herself. When she turned, Darren was standing there, smiling like everything was normal. Ready for photos? He asked, holding out his hand. Maya nodded slowly and walked back into the crowd, her face a mask of joy. Cameras flashed. Friends shouted congratulations. Her mother hugged Darren and called him a blessing. But inside, Maya's thoughts spun like a storm. Who was Brielle? Why was Darren buying 2 rings? And why did she suddenly feel like a stranger in her own love story? She smiled for the pictures. But her heart was somewhere else, trapped in questions she wasn't ready to ask out loud. It was almost 3 years ago when Maya first met Darren. She had just lost her father a few months earlier. The grief still sat heavy on her chest every morning. On the day they met, she had just finished crying in her car before walking into a friend's birthday dinner at a local restaurant. She wasn't in the mood to celebrate, but her best friend had begged her to come. Darren was sitting across the table. He was calm, polite, and asked her how she was doing. Not just the usual small talk, but a quiet, serious kind of asking. When she mentioned she had lost her dad, he didn't change the subject or make it awkward. He just nodded and said, "That kind of pain doesn't go away quickly, but you don't have to carry it alone." That line stayed with her. In the months after, Darren became her safe space. He sent flowers to the hospital when she worked late. He listened when she talked about her dad. He brought her soup when she was sick, held her hand during panic attacks, and made her feel seen in the middle of her sadness. He was stable, kind, steady, and that felt like everything she needed at the time. But over time, things started to shift. Darren came from a wealthy family. His father was a retired judge, his mother ran a nonprofit, and his siblings all had perfect resumes. Maya, the daughter of a Nigerian immigrant nurse and a mechanic, often felt like she was walking into rooms where she didn't fully belong. She worked long shifts at the hospital, sometimes with tired eyes and messy buns. His family always looked so polished, so put together. They never said anything directly, but Maya noticed the small things, like how his mother always complimented her ambition instead of her character, or how his sister once asked if Maya ever planned to move into something less stressful than nursing. Maya started trying harder, dressing up more for their dinners, smiling through awkward silences, laughing at jokes that didn't land. She didn't want to admit it out loud, but she was always trying to prove that she was enough. Tasha, her younger sister, noticed. "Darren's nice," Tasha said once over suya and drinks at their favorite Nigerian food spot. "But he always feels like a business deal more than a boyfriend." Maya laughed it off, but she knew what Tasha meant. Tasha was bold, fiery, and never afraid to speak her mind. Maya loved that about her. They were close enough that Tasha had been the first person Maya called after the proposal, and the only one she hadn't told about the receipt. Their mother, on the other hand, was a different story. "Maya, this is what I prayed for," her mother said, holding Maya's hand after the proposal. "A good man, from a good family, no more struggling, no more disappointments." Her mother meant well, but she had always pushed Maya toward respectability, good grades, a stable job, and now, a man with money and manners. Love, to her, was something you learned after the paperwork was done. Maya didn't blame her. Life had been hard. Her mom had raised them alone after Maya's dad passed. She was strict, but she had given them everything. Still, Maya felt a knot inside her that she couldn't explain. Darren was good on paper. He looked right in photos, said the right things. But sometimes when Maya was telling a story, he'd look at his phone. Or when she was tired and venting about work, he'd say, "You're always so emotional." He had never once asked about her dreams, only her plans. She told herself it was just how men were, that no relationship was perfect, that maybe love wasn't supposed to be fireworks, just safety. But lately, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was fading in her own life, like she was playing the role of perfect fiancé in someone else's story. And now, with the receipt sitting quietly in her purse, that feeling was louder than ever. 2 days after the proposal, Maya stood outside Westfield Jewelers with her heart pounding. She had barely slept. The receipt in her purse felt like it weighed 100 pounds. Part of her hoped it was all a mistake, maybe a refund, or someone else with the same name. But deep down she knew. She walked in. The store was quiet, polished, expensive. A young man behind the counter looked up and smiled. "Can I help you?" Maya pulled the receipt from her purse and placed it on the glass. "I just have a question. This was purchased by Darren Cole. I need to know if this was the only one." The man glanced at the receipt, then back at her. "I'm sorry, are you the recipient?" She gave a tight smile. "I'm his fiancé." He hesitated, then typed something into the computer. After a few seconds, he looked up. There were 2 identical rings ordered under Mr. Cole's account. Same size, same diamond, same engraving request. One picked up last week, the other just a few days ago. Maya blinked. "Same engraving?" "Yes, custom initials inside. MEA." He said it was sentimental. Her knees nearly gave out. That was her father's initials, Michael Emeka Adebayo. She had told Darren that months ago in passing, during a quiet dinner, that if she ever got married, she wanted her dad's name somewhere on the ring. He had nodded, said he loved that idea. And now, the same engraving had gone to another woman's ring? She left the store in a daze. Her chest felt tight, like she couldn't breathe. The cold air outside slapped her awake. She needed answers. She needed to see what he was doing. At home, she waited until Darren was in the shower before grabbing his laptop. He wasn't careful with passwords. He used the same one for almost everything. She guessed it on the second try. In his email, she searched for anything with dinner reservation. And then she found it. Subject, confirmation, private table for 2. Date, Thursday 8 p.m. Name Darren Cole. Occasion, proposal dinner. Guest Brielle Simmons. Her shift was that night. He had picked the exact time she would be gone. Maya stared at the screen, frozen. Then she called out sick. For the first time in 2 years, she lied to the hospital. That evening, she sat in her car outside a candlelit restaurant in Mount Vernon. From her spot across the street, she watched as Darren arrived, dressed in the same blazer he had worn the night of their proposal. He looked calm, confident. Then a woman stepped out of a car and walked toward him. She was bright, bubbly, laughing at something on her phone. She hugged Darren like she had done it 100 times before. Maya's stomach turned. The woman was beautiful, in a warm, friendly kind of way. Not flashy, not overdone. Just happy. Trusting. Maya watched them go inside. She sat for almost an hour, her hands gripping the steering wheel. Her chest was tight, her eyes burning. Part of her wanted to storm in, to scream, to make a scene. But she couldn't move. Then, through the large window, she saw it. Darren got down on one knee. The restaurant paused. Other diners clapped quietly. The woman, Brielle, covered her mouth in surprise. Then she nodded, laughing, crying. He opened the ring box. Maya leaned forward, her breath caught. It was the same ring. She could see it clearly now. Same cut, same shape. But when Brielle lifted her hand to look at it, something caught the light. Maya stared, heart pounding. Engraved on the inside, tiny but visible, were 3 letters. MEA, her father's initials. She gasped out loud, covering her mouth with her hand. He hadn't just bought her the same ring. He had given Brielle the one meant for her. She sank back in the seat, frozen. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was cruel, calculated. The one piece of her heart she had shared, the memory of her father, had been handed to another woman like it meant nothing. Maya didn't cry. She just sat there, silent, the city lights blurring around her. Everything felt broken. Maya didn't sleep that night. She lay on her couch, staring at the ceiling, the images playing over and over in her mind. Darren on one knee, Brielle laughing, the ring flashing in the candlelight. Her father's initials on a hand that wasn't her. The next morning, she went through Darren's social media accounts. Nothing had changed. Their engagement pictures were still there. Smiling. Perfect. Lies. She opened a new Instagram account, fake name, no photo, and started searching. It didn't take long to find Brielle. Her profile was public, full of flowers, colorful events, and cheerful captions. He's my forever. Ring hashtag engaged life. There were pictures from the restaurant, pictures of the ring, videos of her showing it to friends. The comments were full of hearts and congratulations. Maya's heart pounded. Brielle had no idea. She scrolled through Brielle's posts, going back months. Darren was there in nearly every photo, smiling, holding her hand, kissing her cheek. Maya checked the dates. 7 months ago. That was when Darren had asked her to move in with him. He had been building 2 lives at once. 2 futures. Maya felt sick. She couldn't eat. She couldn't think straight. But she didn't confront Darren yet. She wanted more. Proof. Something that would explain the why. Something to make it make sense. The next time Darren came over, she watched him closely. He kissed her forehead like always, asked how her shift was, talked about their future wedding. She sat across from him on the couch, her hands clenched under the blanket. "Do you love me?" she asked softly. Darren looked surprised. "Of course I do. Why would you even ask that?" "No reason," she said, but her voice was flat. Later that week, when she finally brought up the receipt, just to see how he would respond, he didn't even flinch. "That's nothing," he said. "I was looking at options. You're reading too much into it." "But the name." "Babe," he interrupted, rubbing her arm. "You always get in your head. You overthink everything. Gaslighting. Calm. Smooth. Like always." Maya said nothing, just nodded slowly. Inside, something was breaking. She went straight to Tasha's apartment the next day. Tasha listened with her arms crossed, shaking her head. "You need to leave him, Maya." "Now." "I know," Maya whispered. "No, you don't. Because you're still here. Still letting him smile in your face. Maya looked away. "I need to understand. Why? Why her? Why both of us?" Tasha's voice softened. "Sometimes you don't get a reason, Maya. Sometimes people are just wrong." Maya wiped her eyes. "I want him to feel it. I want him to know he broke something good." Tasha hugged her tightly. "Then make him. But don't let him keep breaking you in the process." Maya thought telling her mother would help. But it didn't. When she explained everything, the rings, the emails, the proposal, her mother just shook her head slowly. "You will not embarrass this family." "Mummy, he lied to me." "Yes, and you can deal with that inside your home. Quietly. Don't throw away a good life because of one mistake." "One mistake? You think love is easy? Your father wasn't perfect either. But we stayed." Maya stared at her mother, feeling like she was drowning. "So I should just stay and pretend?" "You're almost 30, Maya. Do you think men like Darren grow on trees? You want to throw away comfort, respect, everything we've worked for." Maya said nothing. She just stood and walked out. At work, things got worse. She dropped a patient file, missed a chart update. She snapped at a coworker for asking a simple question. Her supervisor pulled her aside. "Is everything okay at home?" Maya smiled weakly. "Just tired." But the truth was, she wasn't just tired. She was unraveling. She couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Every time Darren sent a message, "Good morning, babe," she felt sick. Every time Brielle posted another smiling picture, she wanted to scream. She had to meet her, face to face. Maya made an appointment using a fake name and a new number. Brielle worked as an event planner, cheerful, sweet, always smiling. It wasn't hard to book a meeting for a small engagement party. When Maya walked into the office, her hands were shaking. Brielle stood to greet her with a warm smile. "Hi, I'm Brielle. You must be Nia." Maya nodded, her voice caught in her throat. Brielle was kind, effortlessly kind. She offered her water, asked about her fiancé, joked about how planning a party always takes more time than the party itself. As Brielle talked about table settings and floral centerpieces, Maya watched her closely. There was no sign of suspicion, no hint of a secret, just a woman in love. Brielle pulled out her phone to show some photos. One of them popped up, her and Darren at the proposal dinner. She blushed. "Sorry, I'm still obsessed. He was so nervous that night. He's not great with surprises, but he really tried." Maya swallowed hard. "He seems like he loves you a lot." Brielle smiled wide. "Yeah, I think he does." Maya forced a small smile. "I'm sure he does." She stood, thanked her, and walked out before the tears could fall. Back in her car, Maya sat in silence. It wasn't just betrayal. It was cruelty. It was Darren building a future with 2 women and lying to both. It was her mother protecting an image more than her own daughter. It was everyone expecting Maya to be quiet, graceful, forgiving. But she wasn't sure she could be quiet anymore. The morning of the engagement brunch, Maya stood in front of the mirror, her hands trembling as she fixed her hair. She wore a simple white dress. Her mother had called it elegant. To Maya, it felt like armor. The plan was clear in her mind. Both families would be there. The Cole family, her mother, her sister, friends. Maya would stand, say her truth, and walk away. She had nothing else to give Darren but the truth. Her heart beat fast, but her mind was calm now. No more second-guessing. No more hiding. She arrived early to the restaurant before most of the guests. But as she stepped out of her car, she saw someone already waiting near the entrance. It was Brielle. Her eyes were red, her face pale. She clutched her purse like she was holding herself together. Maya froze. Brielle walked up slowly. "Can we talk, please?" They stepped to the side of the building, away from the front doors. Brielle looked around, then took something out of her purse. "The ring." "I need to ask you something," Brielle said quietly. These letters inside the ring. Mea. Do they mean anything to you? Maya's breath caught. She nodded slowly. They're my father's initials. Brielle looked like she might collapse. I found the engraving last night, she said, her voice shaking. I thought it was a mistake. But when I searched those initials with Darren's name, your name came up. An old photo of you too. Your dad's obituary. Maya said nothing. There was nothing to deny. I thought the ring was vintage, Brielle whispered. He said it was from a family friend. But it wasn't. It was yours. The silence between them was heavy. How long have you two been together? Maya finally asked. Since last summer, Brielle said. June. Maya nodded. He proposed to me in October. Brielle blinked. He told me he was traveling for work that weekend. They looked at each other. The puzzle pieces were falling into place. He was planning 2 lives, Maya said quietly. Brielle's face twisted in pain. I believed everything. Every word. God, I thought he was the one. Maya looked down. So did I. They stood in silence for a few more seconds. Then Brielle straightened her shoulders. You still want to go in there? Maya nodded. Yes. Do you? Brielle hesitated, then gave a small, bitter smile. I think I have a few things to say. Together, they walked into the restaurant. The room was already filling. Maya's mother was chatting with Darren's mother. Darren stood near the table, smiling and shaking hands. When he saw Brielle, his face went pale. Maya stepped forward first. Hi, everyone, she said loudly. I'd like to say something. The room quieted. Darren looked confused, then nervous. Maya turned to him, her voice steady. You gave me a ring meant for a ghost, she said, and her a ring meant for me. Brielle stood beside her, silent but strong. You played us both, Maya continued. You lied to our faces. You wore the suit of a good man, but underneath, you were just a coward. Gasps filled the room. Darren tried to speak, but Maya raised her hand. No more lies, she said. We compared dates, messages, pictures. You were building 2 futures, and you were never honest with either of us. Darren looked to his parents, then to Maya's mother, who stood frozen. Maya, please, this isn't the place. It's exactly the place, she said. You smiled in front of these people. You wore the mask. Now they should see what's underneath. She turned to Brielle, then gently took the ring off her finger and placed it in Darren's palm. Keep your lies, she said. I have my name. She didn't look back as she walked out. Brielle followed a few seconds later. Outside, the sun hit her face, warm and real. She took a deep breath. She didn't feel broken. She felt free. After the brunch, Maya blocked Darren on everything, phone, email, social media. She didn't want to hear his voice, didn't want to read his apologies. He tried. He sent flowers to her job, left notes at her door, even asked Tasha to help him get a message through. But Maya stayed silent. She had said what needed to be said. There was nothing left to explain. At first, it was hard. Her phone was too quiet. Her evenings felt too empty. Some nights, she lay awake, wondering how she could have loved someone who lied so easily. But slowly, things began to shift. She started therapy. At first, it felt strange to talk so openly. But her therapist, a calm woman named Dr. Adeyemi, listened without judgment. Each week, Maya let go of something heavy. Her guilt, her shame, her fear that she wasn't enough. She talked about her father too, the kind of man who used to sing while fixing cars, who taught her to be strong but kind. She remembered how he used to say, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. So now, she was finally believing it. 3 months later, Maya booked a solo trip to Puerto Rico. It was her father's favorite place. She'd grown up hearing his stories about the beaches, the food, the music. She went alone. No schedule, no expectations, just her and the ocean. On the second night, she sat barefoot in the sand with her journal, listening to the waves. A soft wind passed through her hair, and for the first time in months, she didn't feel sad. She felt still. When she came back, things were different. She found a new apartment. Nothing big, just a quiet 1-bedroom close to the hospital. She paid for it with her own money, every dollar earned through night shifts and long hours. She bought new curtains, a little bookshelf, a small speaker that played her favorite jazz songs while she cooked. She didn't speak to Brielle again after the brunch, but she saw a post once, Brielle smiling at a friend's wedding, no ring on her finger. Maya felt no anger, just peace. They had both been lied to. That made them survivors, not enemies. At work, things slowly returned to normal. She apologized to her supervisor, took on shifts she had missed. Her co-workers noticed the change. You seem lighter, one nurse said during a late-night shift. I think I am, Maya replied, smiling. She laughed more, slept better, started dancing again in her kitchen like she used to. Some nights, she sat on her balcony with a cup of tea, watching the city lights, not waiting for anyone, not missing anyone, just living. The sun was soft that morning as Maya walked down the quiet street, the small ring box resting in her coat pocket. She had carried it for weeks, unsure what to do with it. Part of her had thought about tossing it into the river. Another part had considered keeping it, just to remember how far she'd come. But now she knew. It was time to let it go. She stepped into a small pawn shop tucked between a barber shop and a bakery. The place smelled of old wood and dust. The man behind the counter looked up with a kind smile. "How can I help you?" he asked. Maya placed the box gently on the counter and opened it. The ring sparkled under the light, still perfect, still cold. "I'd like to sell this," she said softly. He picked it up, examined it, nodded. "It's a nice piece." "You sure?" She smiled a little. "I'm sure." The man made a note, gave her a receipt, and offered her cash. Maya took it without emotion, folded it into her purse. As she stepped back onto the sidewalk, the air felt different, lighter, like something had been lifted. She stood still for a moment, letting the breeze touch her face. She didn't cry. She didn't smile right away either. She just breathed. For the first time in a long time, there was no weight on her chest. No voice in her head asking what she had done wrong. A man walking past glanced at her and said kindly, "That's a beautiful smile." Maya looked up, surprised. And then she smiled back. Not for him, for herself. Some rings bind you to lies. Others set you free. Hey besties, thanks for watching till the end. Maya thought she had it all, until she found out her fiancé proposed to another woman with her. But instead of falling apart, she chose herself. Therapy, peace, a solo trip, and one quiet goodbye later, she smiled, finally free. If you enjoyed the drama, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Next up, her friends invited everyone except her to their girls' trip. She booked one seat beside. Bye.